In a remote village nestled among the mountains, people grew up with a tale passed down from generation to generation. Once upon a time, there was an old hut in a dark valley called the Valley of Darkness. It was said that an old woman had lived there hundreds of years ago, practicing black magic. When she died, her body wasn't buried. Instead, the hut burned down on her head, and her spirit remained there, cursing all who approached. The villagers avoided the valley, especially on moonlit nights. They would chant, "Don't go near it. Whoever enters never returns." The hut, the challenge. In the village lived a young man named Salim, known for his courage and impulsiveness. One night, he sat with his friends around a fire, and they began to talk about the legend. Salim laughed and said, "Enough with the superstitions. The valley is nothing but a deserted place." His friend Imran replied fearfully, "It's not a myth, Salim. My uncle entered the hut 20 years ago and never returned." Salim smiled defiantly. "Tomorrow, when the moon is full, I'll go to the hut myself, and I'll prove to you that you're living in a fantasy." Chapter 3. Descending to the Valley. When the moon was full, Salim took an old lamp and headed towards the valley. The closer he got, the stronger the wind became, and strange sounds filled the air. Unintelligible whispers, the echo of weeping, and the rustling of leaves as if something were chasing him. He stopped in front of the hut. The door was half broken, moving in the wind, making a sound like a groan. He whispered to himself, "It's just a fantasy, just air," and he pushed the door open to enter. Chapter 4. Inside the hut. Darkness filled the place, and the walls were covered with strange drawings. In the center, a human skull was placed on top of a black stone. Salim approached the skull. Suddenly, it lit up, and he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around quickly, sweating profusely, but saw no one. However, the old mirror in the corner reflected something else. He saw a gaunt old woman, her white hair disheveled, her eyes glowing red. The old woman screamed, her voice shaking the place, "Stranger, why have you defiled my place?" And she emerged from the mirror. Salim trembled and said in a broken voice, "No, no, I didn't mean to harm anyone." The old woman smiled a terrifying smile and said, "Everyone who came before you said this, and none of them left alive." Chapter 5. The Sounds. The lamp went out suddenly, plunging him into complete darkness. Sounds of weeping began to be heard from the walls. Then came the screams of women and the clanking of chains on the floor. Salim tried to open the door, but it was firmly locked. He screamed, "Let me out! Who are you?" Suddenly, he felt a cold hand grip the back of his neck. He turned around in terror, but found nothing. He turned to the mirror. He saw himself bound in chains, while his real body stood free. Chapter 6. Suddenly, the old woman appeared before him, whispering in a terrifying voice, "You must give me something irreplaceable." Salim was taken aback and asked her, "What do you want?" She smiled and said, "I want your soul." Salim recoiled in terror and said, I won't sell myself to darkness." The old woman screamed, and the walls burst open with black blood that flowed like a river as she let out her hoarse laughter. She advanced slowly towards Salim, fear gnawing at his heart. He recoiled in terror until he collided with the skull. It shook and fell to the ground. The old woman screamed, writhing in pain, black smoke billowing from her body. Salim was bewildered by the situation. He realized then that the skull was the source of her power. He advanced hesitantly as the old woman crawled slowly, screaming, "Get away from her, you fool!" But Salim quickly seized the skull and slammed it down hard. It shattered, and a bright light emanated from it, blinding him for a moment. Then the old woman let out a final scream, which faded away with the black smoke that rose to the ceiling and disappeared. Salim remained standing, his breath ragged, looking around in disbelief at what had just happened. He fainted from the sheer terror and shock, collapsing to the ground near the cracked skull, which still glowed faintly as if dying. Long moments passed. Then the dawn breeze began to enter through a crack in the hut's wall, caressing Salim's face as if waking him from a heavy nightmare. He slowly opened his eyes, took a deep breath, and then left the hut. With heavy steps, there on the horizon, the sunlight shone for the first time in many years. The sun rose over the village once more, and the people emerged from their homes with faces filled with wonder and joy, gazing at the sky as if seeing it for the first time. Salim smiled as he looked around, tears in his eyes, and whispered in a trembling voice, "The light has returned, and the darkness has departed."